We are just moments away from the start of the Iowa Republican Caucuses, and for the very first time, we will be able to reveal the top choice of voters as they went into caucus sites. Their choices could change, of course, once they're inside the room and they cast this ballot. Right now, we have this key race alert. And Donald Trump is the early leader in the Iowa Republican caucuses based on our entrance poll of caucus goers. And our entrance poll shows Ron DeSantis and Nikki Haley are in a tense fight for second place. Remember, this is all based on early results from our entrance poll of voters on their way into the caucuses. They could still change their minds once they get inside, so this might not reflect the ultimate winner, but it's a pretty good sense of what voters are thinking as they go to caucus. All right, Brian Todd, thanks so much. And let me bring you a key race alert right now because we have some actual votes that have come in. Let's take a look. Right now in Iowa, Donald Trump is leading with 74.6% of the vote. Ron DeSantis in second place with 15.4%. Nikki Haley in third with 5.3%. Pulling up the rear, Vivek Ramaswamy, 4.1%. And Asa Hutchinson with no votes as of now. This is very early. But right now, Donald Trump has 238 votes, which is almost 3/4 of the total. All right, John King, we can now make a very important projection. CNN projects that Donald Trump will win the Iowa caucuses. CNN can make this projection based on his overwhelming lead in our entrance poll of Iowa caucus goers and some initial votes that are coming in. The former president pulling off a huge early victory in his bid to return to the White House. Trump easily defeating his top opponents, Ron DeSantis and Nikki Haley, who are now in a high-stakes fight for second place. And we have another key race alert for you now. Let's check in with the actual votes coming in from the Iowa caucuses. It's only 1% of the estimated vote that's come in, but Donald Trump with the commanding lead, 57.4% of the vote. In second place, Nikki Haley, 18.5% of the vote. Ron DeSantis in third, 15.7% of the vote. Pulling up the rear, Vivek Ramaswamy with 7.7% of the vote, and Asa Hutchinson has one vote, which is still 0% of the vote when you look at the aggregate. Welcome back. I have another key race alert for you. Let's check in on the voting board. We have 6% of the estimated vote in from Iowa. Donald Trump still far and away the leader with 49.5% of the vote. Ron DeSantis in second place with 22.4% of the vote. Nikki Haley in third, 20.6% of the vote. DeSantis and Haley have been hopscotching over each other, leapfrogging over each other, I should say, for second place all night as the votes come in. In the shallow end of the pool, Vivek Ramaswamy, 7.1% of the vote. Asa Hutchinson, 0.2% of the vote. We're going to go back to the voting in Clive, but right now let me bring you a key race alert, and let's look at the actual votes coming in. We have a lot more of the vote in now, 34% of the estimated vote in for the Iowa Republican caucuses. That's more than a third of it. And right now, Donald Trump is far and away in the lead with 52%. That's 22,815 votes. Ron DeSantis maintaining his second place position at 20.3%. Nikki Haley at third, 19.2%. Pulling out the rear, Vivek Ramaswamy, 7.7%. Asa Hutchinson, 0.2%. So Donald Trump maintaining his, at least as of right now, with about a third of the vote in, historically massive lead. But first, I'm going to bring you a key race alert because we have even more of the actual vote in. Let's check it out. Donald Trump, of course, we already declared the winner of the Iowa caucuses. He is right now in the lead by 36,717 votes. That's how many he has. 50.3% of the vote. Ron DeSantis in second place with 21.5% of the vote. Nikki Haley in third place with 19.7% of the vote. She's about 1,500 votes behind Ron DeSantis in that battle for second place. We have another projection to make right now. CNN can now project that when all the votes are counted, Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida, will come in second in the Iowa Republican caucuses. DeSantis invested a lot of time and resources in Iowa. He visited all 99 counties. He was counting on a strong showing to keep his campaign hopes alive. He predicted he would win Iowa at one point. This could give him a needed shot of momentum heading into the next contest in New Hampshire, where Nikki Haley is expected to perform well. Again, CNN projecting that Ron DeSantis will come in second place. It's time to bring you our key race alert. We only have 1% of the vote in, but these are actual votes. Let's check it out. Nikki Haley right now is in the lead with 54.3% of the vote. She has 2,017 votes. She has 333 votes ahead of Donald Trump, who has 45.3% of the vote. Remember, this is just 1% of the vote in. We still have 99 more percentage points to come in, but as of this second, with actual votes coming in, Nikki Haley has the lead, 54-45. And I got another key race alert for you. There's only 5% of the vote in, but right now Donald Trump has taken a slight lead. He has 51.1% of the vote. He's 473 votes ahead of Nikki Haley, who has 48% of the vote. Again, it's only 5% of the vote, but right now at this hour, it's neck and neck. All right, Dana, thanks so much. Let's get a new key race alert. With 11% of the estimated vote in, Donald Trump is still in the lead with 52.2% of the vote. He has 19,185 votes. That's roughly 2,000 votes ahead of Nikki Haley, who is in second place in a two-person race with 46.8% of the vote. It's only 11% of the vote in, but as of right now, Donald Trump has the lead. Here we go indeed. The last polling places are closing in New Hampshire, and we now have a key race alert on where the Republican presidential race stands right now. As of now, it is too early to call the Republican presidential primary in New Hampshire. Donald Trump is taking an early lead in the vote over Nikki Haley with 12% of the vote in. Donald Trump has 52.4% of the vote. Nikki Haley is about 2,300 votes behind that, with 46.6% of the vote, but there is still 88% of the vote outstanding. All right, we can now make a major projection. CNN projects that Donald J. Trump will win the Republican presidential primary in New Hampshire, the former president scoring his second decisive victory of 2024, delivering a powerful blow to his only remaining major opponent, primary opponent, Nikki Haley. Trump taking a critical step toward winning his third Republican presidential nomination. Again, CNN projecting Donald Trump will win the Republican primary in New Hampshire. And we should note that it has never happened that somebody won Iowa and New Hampshire and then did not go on to win their party's nomination. Let's have a key race alert now. Donald Trump, the projected winner of the Republican presidential primary in New Hampshire. Trump easily defeating his very last standing major GOP opponent, Nikki Haley. Let's check out the votes. With 28% of the estimated vote in, Donald Trump is far and away in the lead with 55.5% of the vote. That's 50,551 votes. It's about 11,000 votes ahead of Nikki Haley, who's bringing up the rear at 43%. Again, that's with 28% of the vote in. And I have a key race alert for you now. Let's check in on the big board. 44% of the estimated vote in from the Republican New Hampshire primary. Donald Trump is still ahead, 54.4% of the vote. He has 78,575 votes. That's about 15,000 more votes than Nikki Haley, who is in second place in a two-person race with 43.9% of the vote. Donald Trump has about a 10-point lead on Nikki Haley as of right now. And it's time for another key race alert. Let's check in on the vote board here with 69% of the estimated vote in. Donald Trump is still way in the lead, about 11 points ahead of Nikki Haley. He has 54.3% of the vote with 123,334 votes. He is roughly 24,000 votes ahead of Nikki Haley, who is 43.6% of the vote.
But on the Republican side, Nikki Haley will suffer a somewhat embarrassing defeat, losing to, quote, none of these candidates. It's an option that Nevada voters have to express their dissatisfaction with everyone on the ballot. Former President Donald Trump was not on the primary ballot, and it really doesn't carry much weight because the state GOP opted to award its delegates through party-run caucuses, which Trump is expected to win on Thursday.
All right, John King, thank you very much. And now for a CNN projection. CNN projects that Donald Trump has won the Nevada caucuses. John King is still with us. John, we are so early in the night, but as you just laid out, this is a one-man race in Nevada.
Also, last night, another victory for Donald Trump in a race that was decided before a single vote was even cast. The former Republican president winning Nevada's caucuses last night, effectively running unopposed to capture the state's 26 delegates. Nikki Haley chose not to be on the ballot. Haley did appear on Tuesday's primary ballot. She actually lost to the option none of these candidates. The U.S. Virgin Islands also held caucuses last night, trouncing Haley there by a 3-1 margin for the territory's 4 delegates.
All right, polling places are about to close in South Carolina. 5 seconds left in the GOP presidential primary fight between Donald Trump and Nikki Haley. And right now, we can make a major projection. CNN projects that Donald Trump will win the South Carolina Republican primary, defeating former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley in her home state and securing his 4th major early victory in the GOP primary season. The former president taking another critical step toward winning his 3rd Republican presidential nomination and continuing his dominance over the race ahead of the all-important and delegate-rich Super Tuesday contests just 10 days from now. We're able to make this projection based on exit polls that CNN and other news organizations conducted with thousands of South Carolina voters after they cast their ballots. Again, CNN is projecting Donald Trump will be the winner of the South Carolina Republican primary. And we're bringing you a key race alert right now in the South Carolina Republican primary, which we have already called for Donald Trump. Let's take a look at the vote board here. 10% of the estimated vote is in, and Donald Trump is up with 57.6% of the vote. He has 50,794 votes. He is almost 14,000 votes ahead of Nikki Haley, who has 41.9% of the vote. She has 36,987 votes. There are 50 delegates at stake, and this is just 10% of the vote. We're expecting many more votes coming in throughout the night. Hey, we got another key race alert for you in South Carolina, the Republican primary, with 20% of the estimated vote in. Donald Trump is still in the lead. He has 58.8% of the vote. That's 97,933 votes, roughly 30,000 votes ahead of Nikki Haley, who has 40.7% of the vote. She has 67,798 votes. That's 20% of the vote in. He still has a rather commanding lead. And I have a key race alert for you right now with 36% of the vote in. Donald Trump is still far ahead with 59.3% of the vote. He has 182,783 votes. That's more than 59,000 ahead of Nikki Haley, who has 40.1% of the vote, 123,442 votes. That's with 36% of the estimated vote in. We have already projected that Donald Trump will win the South Carolina Republican primary. And I have a key race alert for you now with 79% of the vote in. Donald Trump remains ahead with 60.1% of the vote. He has 357,692 votes. That is almost 125,000 votes ahead of former 2-term South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley, who has 39.2% of the vote, 233,023 votes. It is a stomping, a thumping, as they say. 79% of the vote in. Donald Trump far ahead in the lead. And we have another key race alert for you now. Let's look at the big board with 89% of the vote in. Donald Trump is ahead, 59.9% of the vote. He has 397,524 votes. He is more than 135,000 votes ahead of 2-time Governor Nikki Haley, who has 39.4% of the vote, 261,731 votes. That's roughly been the dynamic for the last couple hours, roughly 60-40 Trump.
And it's the turn of the hour, so we have a key race alert for you. Let's bring you some of the numbers as they come in on the Republican side in the Republican primary in Michigan. With 1% of the vote in, Donald Trump is in the lead with 54.4% of the vote. He has 10,950 votes, roughly 3,000 votes ahead of Nikki Haley, who has 39.8% of the vote. She has 8,011 votes. Obviously, it is very early. We only have 1% of the vote in. On the Republican side, Donald Trump, no surprise, in the lead with 63.7% of the vote. That's 60,879 votes, almost 30,000 votes ahead of Nikki Haley, who has 32.4% of the vote. That's with 7% of the estimated vote in. And we got another key race alert for you right now with more actual votes coming in the Michigan Republican primary with 8% of the estimated vote in. Donald Trump still in the lead with 63.7% of the vote, 70,964 votes. He's almost 35,000 votes ahead of Nikki Haley, who has 32.3% of the vote, or a total right now of 36,014 votes. That's with 8% of the estimated vote in. All right, John, the last polling places are just about to close in the Michigan Democratic and Republican primaries. President Biden looking to beat back a protest vote, while Donald Trump is aiming for another win that catapults him towards closer towards a rematch with Biden. And we can now make some important projections. CNN is projecting now that Donald Trump will win the Michigan Republican presidential primary. This will be his 5th straight major victory of the primary season, and another loss for Nikki Haley as she persists in her fight against Trump despite his growing advantage in the all-important hunt for delegates, which is, of course, what is needed to win the GOP presidential nomination. Again, CNN projecting Donald Trump will win the Republican primary in Michigan, teeing up a blockbuster Super Tuesday contest next week.
All right, and I want to ask you before we let you go about some of these caucuses that are going on tonight. Just into CNN, we are projecting that Trump will win the caucuses in Missouri, in Michigan, and Idaho. And that makes his delegate count far and away ahead of Nikki Haley, 51-4 there. And now we head in, Ron, as you well know, we head into Super Tuesday on Tuesday, where so many delegates are up for grabs. What reason do you think Haley should continue to soldier on? She has said she's committed to staying in through Super Tuesday. How do you think Super Tuesday could push this dynamic forward?
Nikki Haley received a much-needed boost on Sunday. She won the Republican primary in Washington, D.C., her first win so far.
And at this hour, Trump is already adding another win to his list, CNN projecting that he will win the North Dakota caucuses.
All right, John, we are just moments away from the first major poll closings on this Super Tuesday, where voting ends in Virginia and Vermont in just 7 seconds, with a combined 65 Republican delegates on the line. So let us get now a key race alert. It is right now in the states of Virginia and Vermont too early to call in the Republican presidential nomination. CNN does not have enough information right now to call the Virginia Republican primary or the Vermont Republican primary. In both of them, it is too early to call. All right, we have a key race alert for you now. Actual votes are coming in the Commonwealth of Virginia, and right now, with this trickle coming in, Donald Trump is ahead with 72.2% of the vote. That's 854 votes. That's 548 votes more than Nikki Haley, who has 25.9% of the vote. This is scarce. Scarcely 1,000 votes have come in, but they have come in. So we are telling you, good people, about them. CNN can now make a major projection. CNN projects that Donald Trump will win the Republican presidential primary in the Commonwealth of Virginia. We can make this early projection based on exit polls that CNN and other news organizations conducted with voters in the Virginia Republican primary after they cast their ballots. Again, CNN is projecting that Donald Trump will win the Virginia Republican primary. Yep, voting is about to end in North Carolina. 74 delegates are on the line in the Republican presidential race. 2 seconds left, 1 second left. We have more projections to make right this second. And CNN projects that Donald Trump will win the Republican presidential primary in North Carolina, defeating Nikki Haley in a potentially crucial battleground in the November race for the White House. Now we have a key race alert for you. Looking at Republican votes in Vermont right now, we have them coming in with 3% of the estimated vote in. Donald Trump is in the lead. He has 54% of the vote, 1,231 votes. He is 262 votes ahead of former Governor Nikki Haley, who was endorsed by the Republican governor of Vermont. She has 42.5% of the vote. Very early now, 3% of the estimated vote. All right, and we are closing in on 8 p.m. Eastern when all voting will end in 5 states with a total of 211 crucial Republican delegates up for grabs. And we now have a key race alert. It is too early to call in the following states. Alabama, which has 50 delegates at stake, too early to call. Maine, which has 20 delegates at stake, too early to call. Massachusetts with 40 delegates at stake, too early to call. Let's look at Oklahoma. Oklahoma, 43 delegates at stake, too early to call. Tennessee, 58 delegates at stake, too early to call. Now let's look at some of the voting as they're actually coming in, actual votes. Back to the state of Vermont. Donald Trump still in the lead, 10% estimated vote in. Donald Trump has 51.4% of the vote, 3,601 votes. He's 456 votes ahead of Nikki Haley, who has 44.9% of the vote. Again, that's with only 10% of the vote in. All right, John King, let's bring you now a key race alert, because we are getting actual votes now from some of these commonwealths and states. In the state of Texas, 161 delegates at stake. Donald Trump is by far in the lead, 72.3% of the vote, 179,250 votes. That's 123,354 votes more than Nikki Haley, who has 22.5% of the vote. That's 11% of the estimated vote in. In the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, where 40 delegates are at stake, Nikki Haley is right now, with a very few votes in, just over 500, in the lead. She has 49.7% of the vote, 282 votes. That's 27 more than Donald Trump, who has 45% of the vote. That's 255 votes. That's just a few votes sprinkled in there. In the state of Vermont, Donald Trump, 17 delegates at stake. Donald Trump is in the lead, 51.2% of the vote. That is 5,535 votes. He's 630 votes ahead of Nikki Haley, who has 45.3% of the vote. That's with an estimated 15% of the vote. That is still a lot of votes to be counted. It's Super Tuesday on CNN. We have another projection to share right now. CNN is projecting that Donald Trump will win the Oklahoma Republican primary. 43 delegates at stake. Donald Trump will win the Oklahoma Republican primary. That is the third one this evening that we have called for former President Trump. Let's take a look at all the states that Donald Trump has won to date. He has won Idaho, Iowa, Michigan, Missouri, Nevada, New Hampshire, North Carolina, North Dakota, Oklahoma, South Carolina, and this evening we projected that he would win the Commonwealth of Virginia. All right, Boris, thanks so much. Appreciate it. We have a key race alert for you now because we're getting actual votes in for some of these states that we have yet to call. In Texas, with 161 delegates at stake, Donald Trump is in the lead, 74.1% of the vote. That's 394,099 votes. More than 283,000 votes more than Nikki Haley, who has 20.7% of the vote. That's with an estimated 24% of the estimated vote. About a quarter of the vote in from Texas tonight. In the state of Vermont, with 17 delegates at stake, Donald Trump is in the lead. It's close, but he's still in the lead, 48.8% of the vote, with 9,244 votes. That's 211 more than Nikki Haley, who has 47.7% of the vote. That's with an estimated 27% of the vote in. In the state of Tennessee, with 58 delegates at stake, Donald Trump is in the lead with 80.6% of the vote. That's 25,112 votes, and that is 19,998 more than Nikki Haley, who has 16.4% of the vote. That's with only an estimated 4% of the vote in. In Maine, which should prove a battleground again in November, Donald Trump has 74% of the vote, 1,552 votes. That's about 1,000 more than Nikki Haley, who has about a quarter of the vote, 24.4% of the vote. There are 20 delegates at stake there. That's only 2% of the estimated vote there. And then in Massachusetts, with 40 delegates at stake, this is the one place where Nikki Haley is, at least as of right now, in the lead. 48.6% of the vote, 1,371 votes. That's 48 votes more than Donald Trump, who has 46.9% of the vote. Not a lot of votes in from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Let's take a look at Vermont now, if we can. Donald Trump just jumped ahead of Nikki Haley, 48.8% of the vote. He has 9,244 votes. That's 211 more than Nikki Haley, with 47.7% of the vote. That's 27% of the estimated vote. And Let's go back to Vermont. She just jumped. Nikki Haley has 48.3% of the vote over Donald Trump. 48.3% of the vote. Nikki Haley just jumped ahead of Donald Trump. That's only 3 votes more than Donald Trump. That's at 28% of the estimated vote. David Chalian, what are you guys getting in there at the exit poll desk?
Well, we're also tracking delegates here tonight, Jake, and I got to tell you, one place that Nikki Haley is not getting anything is in the realm of delegates tonight. There are 865 delegates at stake tonight on this Super Tuesday in the Republican contest. We have been able to allocate 109 delegates so far, all to Donald Trump. Nikki Haley, 0 delegates so far tonight. This could be the story of the night. Donald Trump stretching his delegate lead to an almost insurmountable place. So far, 109 tonight. Look at now where his totals are to date in this contest. You need 1,215 delegates to become the Republican presidential nominee. Donald Trump, 385 now. Nikki Haley way back at 43. That is going to be the key metric to watch all night long, Jake.
All right, we have another projection to make. And CNN can project that Donald Trump will be the winner of the Tennessee Republican primary. 58 delegates at stake, another big victory for Donald Trump in a Super Tuesday that has turned out so far to be pretty super for him. That's Donald Trump, the projected winner of the Tennessee Republican primary. Let's take a look at all the primaries that he has won, primaries and caucuses. Donald Trump has won in Idaho, Iowa. We're doing this in alphabetical order, as I'm sure you can tell. Michigan, Missouri, Nevada, New Hampshire, North Carolina, North Dakota, Oklahoma, South Carolina, Tennessee, which we just called a second ago, and Virginia, which we called about an hour ago. For you right now. And right now, Arkansas, the polls just closed, and CNN is saying it is too early to call the state of Arkansas with 40 delegates at stake. Polls closed at 8:30 Eastern Time. Right now, too early to call. Let me bring you a key race alert now because we're getting votes from 4 important states in the Republican primary process. Let's take a look at the vote board in Vermont with 17 delegates at stake. Donald Trump maintains his lead, 48.2% of the vote. He's 1 vote ahead. When I was talking about the lead he maintained, I'm referring to this 1 vote. Donald Trump has 10,992 votes. Nikki Haley has 10,991 votes. That's about a third of Vermont's vote is in, a third estimated vote. Donald Trump has 1 more vote than Nikki Haley. In Texas, in the Republican primary, 161 delegates at stake. Donald Trump far in the lead, 74.9% of the vote, 674,785 votes. That's almost 500,000 more votes than Nikki Haley, who has 19.9% of the vote. That's with a pretty big chunk of the vote in, 40% of the estimated vote in from Texas. Donald Trump off to a rather healthy lead there. In the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, 40 delegates at stake. Donald Trump, again, with a sizable lead. It's only 2% of the estimated vote, but he has 60.7% of the vote, 8,894 votes. That is about 3,700 votes more than Nikki Haley, who has 35.4% of the vote. Again, that's a minuscule amount of the vote there, 2% of the estimated vote in Massachusetts. In Maine, with 20 delegates at stake, Donald Trump has 71.2% of the vote. 71.4% of the vote. I'm sorry, they just updated it. 7,295 votes. That's more than 5,100 votes more than Nikki Haley, who has 21.3% of the vote. That's with a 10% of the estimated vote in. Donald Trump off to a very healthy lead in the state of Maine, which will prove crucial in November. All right, John, we're heading into a major round of poll closings with 237 delegates at stake. All voting is about to end in 3 contests, including one of the delegate jackpots of the night, Texas. We have more projections to make right now. Let's take a look. Donald Trump is the projected winner of the Republican primary in the state of Texas. 161 delegates at stake. CNN is projecting Donald Trump will win Texas. In the state of Maine, 20 delegates at stake. CNN projecting Donald Trump will win the Republican primary in the state of Maine. And in the state of Arkansas, 40 delegates at stake. CNN projecting that Donald Trump will be the winner of the Republican primary in the state of Arkansas. A key race alert right now in Colorado and Minnesota. CNN is projecting it's too early to call in the Colorado Republican primary in the race between Donald Trump and Nikki Haley. 37 delegates at stake in Colorado. Too early to call. In Minnesota, 39 delegates at stake. CNN also saying too early to call in the Republican primary in Minnesota between Donald Trump and Nikki Haley. Let's look at some of the actual votes coming in right now, if we can. In Vermont, 17 delegates at stake. Donald Trump still eking out a win there right now. 49.3% of the vote, 15,382 votes. That's 776 votes more than Nikki Haley, who has 46.9% of the vote. That's with an estimated 45% of the estimated vote in. In the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, 40 delegates at stake. Donald Trump still with a commanding lead, 57.4. That was just updated. 57.5% of the vote, 24,592 votes. It's almost 8,000 votes more than Nikki Haley, who has 39% of the vote. That just ticked back down. 38.7% of the vote for Nikki Haley. Donald Trump doing well in Massachusetts, although it's only an estimated 7% of the vote in. Only 7% estimated vote in. In Alabama, 50 delegates at stake. Donald Trump with a commanding lead, 84.1% of the vote, 12,178 votes. That's more than 10,000 votes more than Nikki Haley, who has 12.2% of the vote. 12.2. That is with an only estimated 2% of the vote in. Still very early in the vote count in Alabama. David Chalian, where are we in delegates right now? Because while all this counting is going on, we are awarding delegates.
Yeah, as you're making these projections and we see the votes coming in, we're able to do so, Jake. Take a look here in the state of Texas. You said it's the second largest prize of the night. It is 161 delegates at stake. Donald Trump getting 114 of those 161 delegates. We still have 47 unallocated as we wait for more vote to come in, and quite frankly, the Texas Republican Convention process later in the calendar, which will dictate where some of these delegates go. So where does that leave us for delegates tonight on Super Tuesday? Donald Trump so far getting 302 of the 865 delegates at stake tonight. Nikki Haley picking up 3 delegates in the Commonwealth of Virginia. So she gets above that 0 mark. But look at that divide. This is Donald Trump dominating the evening. And where is he in the battle for delegates overall? You need 1,215 delegates to become the Republican nominee up there in the right-hand corner. Donald Trump is now at 578, nearing the halfway mark. 46 for Haley. It's not even the same universe of competitiveness. In fact, let's look at what is the percentage that Donald Trump has won to date. He has won 90.9% of the delegates awarded to date. Nikki Haley has only won 7.2%. 91-7 is the score of delegates so far when you break it down by percentages. What does that mean Donald Trump needs? Well, he is on track. He only needs 35.5% of the remaining delegates, that's number highlighted in green, in order to secure the nomination. Nikki Haley's need number is 65.2%. So he needs a little over a third of the remaining delegates available to secure the nomination. She needs 2/3 of them, Jake.
Right, that's interesting stuff. Let's go to a key race alert now on the presidential front. CNN is looking at these votes as they're coming in. Colorado Republican primary, there are 37 delegates at stake. Donald Trump in the lead, 57% of the vote. 87,799 votes. That's 27,087 votes more than Nikki Haley, who has 39.4% of the vote. So far, it's about a quarter of the estimated vote in, 26% in Colorado. Donald Trump with a commanding lead. In Vermont, where it's been neck and neck all night, Donald Trump starting to edge ahead. There are 17 delegates at stake there. Donald Trump in the lead with 49.5% of the vote. 16,000 votes. That was just updated. 49.7% of the vote, 16,997 votes. That's more than 1,000 votes more than Nikki Haley, who has 46.6% of the vote. That's with 49% of the estimated vote in, about half of the vote in Vermont. All right, John King, thanks so much. And CNN has another projection to make. CNN can project in the state of Alabama, known for many things, including our own Caitlin Collins, Donald Trump will be the winner of the Republican primary. 50 delegates at stake. Donald Trump is projected to be the winner of the Alabama Republican primary. Let's take a look at the vote as it's coming in Vermont. Donald Trump maintaining his lead. 17 delegates at stake, 49.8% of the vote. That is 18,627 votes, 1,274 votes more than Nikki Haley, who has 46.4% of the vote. That is with more than half of the vote in from Vermont, 53% of the estimated vote. In the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, 40 delegates at stake. Donald Trump, again, maintaining a healthy lead, 59.9% of the vote, 36,807 votes. That is 14,352 more than Nikki Haley, who has 36.5% of the vote. That's still with only an estimated 10% of the vote in. But at this early hour, Donald Trump with a dominant lead in Massachusetts. In Colorado, where the polls just closed, 37 delegates at stake. Donald Trump in the lead there, too. 59.8% of the vote, 163,982 votes. That is almost 64,000 votes more than Nikki Haley, who has 36.6% of the vote. That's with almost half of the vote in, 46% of the estimated vote in Colorado. Now, and we are back with another Super Tuesday projection we can make right now in the state of Colorado with 37 delegates at stake. CNN can project Donald Trump is the winner of Colorado's Republican primary. 37 delegates at stake. Yet another state on the big board for Donald Trump this evening. All right, let's bring you a key race alert and get you up to date on some of the votes still coming in some of the states that we have not called. In Minnesota, these are new votes with 1% of the estimated vote in, 39 delegates at stake. Donald Trump taking an early lead, 78.6% of the vote. Very few votes in. That's 1,737 votes. That's 1,300 more than Nikki Haley, who has 18.8% of the vote. Again, that's only an estimated 1% of the vote in from Minnesota. The polls just closed at 9 p.m. Eastern. In Vermont, which we've been watching seesaw all night, Donald Trump still has a lead, 49.6% of the vote. That's 19,311 votes, 1,100 or so votes more than Nikki Haley, who has 46.7% of the vote. Her strongest showing so far this evening with 56% of the estimated vote, but she is still not in the lead. In the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, with 40 delegates at stake, Donald Trump, 59.4% of the vote, 44,285 votes. That's 16,657 more than Nikki Haley, who has just 37.1% of the vote. That's with an estimated 13% of the estimated vote, 13%. And let's bring you a key race alert as votes are coming in Vermont, which has been a seesaw all evening. 17 delegates at stake. Donald Trump still maintaining his lead. 48.6% of the vote, 23,134 votes. That's 424 votes more than Nikki Haley, who has 47.7% of the vote. That's with an estimated 68% of the vote in Vermont. In the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, 40 delegates at stake. Donald Trump has 60.3% of the vote. That's 63,325 votes. That's more than 26,000 votes more than Nikki Haley, who has 36.3% of the vote. That's with about a fifth of the vote, 18% of the estimated vote in. In the state of Minnesota, where the polls just closed at 9 p.m. Eastern, 39 delegates at stake. Donald Trump in the lead there, dominantly, 69% of the vote. 39,883 votes. That's more than 23,000 votes more than Nikki Haley, who has 29% of the vote. That's 18% of the estimated vote in Minnesota. We can bring you a projection right now from Minnesota. CNN can project that Donald Trump will be the winner of the Minnesota Republican primary. 39 delegates at stake, and Donald Trump is going to pick up the Minnesota Republican primary vote this evening. Let's bring you a key race alert now. Let's look at the actual votes as they put them on the board. In Vermont, which has been neck and neck all night, Donald Trump still in the lead for that state's 17 delegates, 48.3% of the vote. That's 23,721 votes, 147 votes more than Nikki Haley. This is her strongest state yet in this Super Tuesday contest, but she's still pulling up the rear. 48% of the vote. That's with an estimated 70% of the vote in. In the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, with 40 delegates at stake, Donald Trump has 61.4% of the vote. Very dominant. 86,387 votes. That's 36,807 more than Nikki Haley, who is 35.2% of the vote. That's about a quarter of the vote is in there, about 23% of the estimated vote in Massachusetts.
Jake, he's got a projection.
Thanks, Dan. And we have a major projection right now. CNN can project that the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Republican primary winner will be Donald Trump. 40 delegates at stake in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Donald Trump will be the winner of that Republican primary, CNN can project. And let's bring you a key race alert right now. And let's take a look at the big board in Vermont, which has been going back and forth all night. 17 delegates at stake. Nikki Haley is in the lead right now, 49.3% of the vote. That's 27,843 votes. That's 1,420 ahead, 1,420 votes more than Donald Trump, who has 46.8% of the vote. That's with an estimated 81% of the vote in. That's been going back and forth all night. Haley taking the lead, then Donald Trump taking the lead, back and forth, back and forth. Right now, it is Nikki Haley. Let's go to David Chalian right now to look at the all-important number of delegates. How are the delegates going, David?
That's right, Jake. That's how you win the Republican nomination. You have to amass delegates. 865 delegates at stake tonight on Super Tuesday. And look at that scoreboard. So far tonight, we have been able to allocate 430 of those 865 delegates tonight to Donald Trump. So half, basically. Nikki Haley, thus far, has only been allocated 3 delegates. Obviously, if she wins Vermont, she may get some more there, but we'll continue to track. Look at what that means for Donald Trump's delegate haul to date in this race. 1,215 delegates are needed to win the nomination. Donald Trump stands at 706 delegates compared to Nikki Haley's 46 delegates. Different universes of support in this contest on display. What percentage of delegates Donald Trump's won so far? 92.4% of the delegates awarded thus far have gone to Donald Trump. Only 6% have gone to Nikki Haley. And therefore, Donald Trump, his need number to cross that 1,215 threshold keeps going down. 30.6% is what he needs of the remaining delegates available in the future contests to secure the nomination. Nikki Haley needs 70.2% of the remaining delegates, and she's not winning anything like that, Jake.
Thanks so much. And voting is about to end in the critical state of California and in the Utah Republican caucuses. We are deep into Super Tuesday with the biggest prize of the night on the line, and we can now make a major projection. And we are projecting that Donald Trump will win the Republican primary in California with its delegate-rich 169 delegates. Donald Trump will win the California Republican primary. Let's look at all the states that Donald Trump has won to date. This is from the beginning of the contests with Iowa. We're going to do them in alphabetical order. Alabama, Arkansas, California, Colorado, Idaho, Iowa, Maine. That's just the first column. Massachusetts, Michigan, Minnesota, Missouri, Nevada, New Hampshire, North Carolina. That's the second column. Third column, North Dakota, Oklahoma, South Carolina, Tennessee, Texas, and the Commonwealth of Virginia. Quite a haul. We do have another projection for you right now. And this is Vermont. And we are going to call Vermont for Nikki Haley. The Republican primary in Vermont and its 17 delegates go to Nikki Haley. Nikki Haley picks up her very first state. She won the Washington, D.C. primary over the weekend, and Vermont is the very first state that she has won. Nikki Haley, again, projected to be the winner of the Vermont Republican primary. Let's look at the votes there. It is 50.4% for Nikki Haley, 33,684 votes. That is 3,215 votes more than Donald Trump, 45.6% of the vote. That's with an estimated 89% of the vote in, but let's bring you a key race alert now. All right, let's take a look at what's going on in Utah, where the polling just closed, the votes just closed, and it's too early to call in Utah, where there are 40 delegates at stake. Nikki Haley has high hopes for Utah. We're going to be keeping an eye on Utah, but as of right now, the Republican caucuses in Utah, it is too early to call. You might remember historically, Utah was a trouble spot for Donald Trump, theoretically, during the Republican primaries and caucuses in 2016. Let's turn now to David Chalian. This is obviously some delegates heading towards Nikki Haley. Not enough, but some. Give us the board.
Jake, you are right to note that Nikki Haley will get some delegates out of that Vermont win, but not many. Let's start with California. California had 169 delegates at stake tonight. You projected Donald Trump the winner, and he gets all 169 delegates. Why? Because his campaign engineered a change in the California Republican Party rules this year that if somebody got over 50% of the vote, they would get all the delegates. That's the kind of campaign work Donald Trump was thanking his campaign manager, Chris LaCivita, for earlier tonight when we heard from him. 169 to nothing in California. Where are we to date on this, tonight on this Super Tuesday night? Donald Trump has been awarded 617 delegates of the 865 at stake tonight. Nikki Haley has only got 23 out of tonight. Now, yeah, she got 9 delegates out of that Vermont victory, but she's at 23 to Donald Trump's 617. And how about the quest for his overall nomination? Where is he to date? 893. He needs 1,215 to secure the nomination. He is well on his way. 893 delegates for the former president. Nikki Haley is up to 66 delegates. Not in the same ballpark as Donald Trump at all. What does he need? What has he won? He's won 92% of the delegates to date. Nikki Haley's only won 6.8%. 92 to 6.8%. What's left to get for Donald Trump? What does he need of the remaining delegates? You see it there, 22.1%. That number's been going down all night as he's steamrolling through these victories. He now only needs 22% of the remaining delegates. Nikki Haley needs 78.8% of the remaining delegates to secure the nomination.
Last night, Donald Trump all but sweeping the primaries on Super Tuesday. Although I will point out, Nikki Haley did have that slightly unexpected win here in Vermont. Again, Trump with that near sweep. And it looks like the November rematch that Americans don't want is exactly what they'll get after that sweep on Super Tuesday. Trump dominating nearly every race, winning by big margins in state after state. Now closing in on the 1,215 delegates that he would need to formally secure the nomination.
All right, John, thank you. And as John concludes, we do have a CNN projection. And we can now project that former President Donald Trump will win the Georgia Republican primary. That means he adds more delegates to his account, as we do expect him to clinch the Republican nomination tonight. There are 4 states, of course, voting, but we now can project that Donald Trump has won the state of Georgia.
Polls have just closed in Mississippi, and CNN can now make a projection. CNN projects that former President Trump will win the state, putting him that much closer to 1,215 delegates he needs to secure the nomination.
All right, everyone stand by just 1 second. We have a major projection to make right here on CNN. CNN can now officially project that Donald Trump has eclipsed the delegate threshold to officially clinch the Republican nomination for President of the United States. We can say that because CNN can project that the former president has won Washington state. That milestone puts the country on a path toward a 2020 rematch. David Chalian is back with us here. David, give us an update on where we stand now in this delegate watch.
Yeah, you just said it, Abby. Donald Trump has crossed the threshold. The former president has yet again secured the Republican Party nomination for the 3rd presidential election cycle in a row. 1,215 delegates are needed to win. Look at that Donald Trump number. He is now at 1,219 delegates. This is after we were able to allocate 31 delegates from Washington state into Donald Trump's column. He's going to win Washington state tonight. We still have 12 delegates from Washington state to assign, but we have enough in Donald Trump's column to put him over the edge. Look at where we are at Donald Trump's trajectory overall in this race. 1,219 delegates. And if you look at it by percentages, you will see Donald Trump has won overwhelmingly. The vast majority, north of 92% of the delegates up for grabs in this nomination season so far, a big percentage to close it out. He makes it look as if it was really never in doubt for the former president, Abby.
If you look at that disparity there, it's huge. And this also makes Donald Trump one of the earliest to clinch the nominations at this point in a primary process. I want to